Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first part of our IBM Watson Super-class series. Today, we will be learning how to build and deploy models with natural language classifier. There we go. So I'd like to get to know all of you a little better. So I'm going to introduce myself as an example, and if you would all like to share, no pressure, in the chat, your name and pronouns, your title, company, or program, where you're joining from, or possibly where you're from, something you love, and something that's uniquely weird or different about you. So while you all introduce yourselves, in the chat so I can get to know you a little better and we can all get to know each other. My name is Jenna. My pronouns are she, her. I'm a cloud developer advocate with IBM. I'm currently joining from Detroit. I'm also from Detroit. Something I love, something I've been starting to love recently is watching old movies on HBO. There's a lot of 90s movies, so lots of nostalgia from high school and middle school. That's been something I've been really into lately. And a quirk, so something that's uniquely different about me. If you've joined a session before, you've probably heard me say this. I have a weird obsession with tuna salad sandwiches and tuna melts. So I eat them probably far more regularly than I should. Don't have mercury poisoning yet, but yeah, so if you know a really great place to get a great tuna melt, I'm all ears. So it looks like we have a few people joining from, we have Toronto, Mexico City, New York, Pandora, Santa Clara, California. Have people from all over, quarantining all over the country, all over the world here. North America, South America. Very cool. So just a few housekeeping items before we get started. So if you scroll to the very top of the chat, I have for you the slides. The event slides, the GitHub repo we will be using today, The live stream recording, the live stream is going to exist at the URL that you joined with today. The live stream will just convert into a recording of the session. I also have some data science certifications that I'll touch on in just a minute here. So if you would like to access the slides and follow along, you can access the slides at this link. The GitHub repository we are going to be using for today is this NLC email phishing GitHub repo. As I mentioned, the live stream recording is going to live at the same URL you joined with today. And if you haven't already signed up for an IBM Cloud account, an IBM Cloud account is required in order to create an NLC instance and complete the tutorial and deploy your application. So if you don't already have an account, you can sign up for one. It is free at the link here. Also, if you look at the bottom of your screen where it says IBM Cloud sign up, if you click there, it will redirect you as well. So as I mentioned, you'll be signing up for a free light tier account. And you can do a lot. There's a lot of light plan services that are for forever free at no cost to you. So you don't need to enter a credit card in order to use it. You can sign up. It's all free to use. So, and I've introduced myself a little bit, so you've all gotten to know me a little better. So here's my Octocat avatar that I made at Universe last year. I also would like to introduce Steve Marr. He's going to be hanging out with us, helping answering questions, providing any dev support. If you have any questions at any time, please feel free to ask your question in the chat or add it to the Ask a Question in the Ask a Question section for questions and answers. We have a question: do we need any local software for this training? No. So you don't need any local software. Everything that we're going to be doing today, we're going to be doing within your IBM Cloud account within the cloud.ibm.com portal. So everything is going to live in there. You don't need any local software. The only thing for training, the only thing that you will need is a terminal and some sort of text editor if you want to deploy your application locally or even to IBM Cloud, which we'll cover later. You will need some sort of text editor and your terminal. And an IBM Cloud account, but you don't need any software for the training. All of the training will happen within your IBM Cloud portal in your within your Watson Studio instance. And I'm going to go through and show you all how to set that up.
Thanks for the intro, Jenna. And yep, let me know if folks have any questions here.
Cool. Thanks, Steve. Okay. So two things that I would like to recommend. Sorry, this is fuzzy. I could not get a clearer picture. But one of the things that I've been starting to recommend when I've been doing these series is different badges. So we have different trainings, different IBM Cloud badge trainings that you can do. Everything from cloud application development to advanced data science applications. And they're all done through, the training's all done through Acclaim. And so I wanted to focus on some really key core data science foundational trainings for you all. So the first one that I have here is our IBM Data Science Foundations Cognitive class. Now this is multiple levels. So these are 3-part series. So you're actually earning 4 badges total. So I've added the links here for you all to check those out if you're, looking to dabble and learn more in computer science or data science, or maybe you're a data scientist and you want to earn some more credentials to kind of flex your skills and show what you know. These are a great way to do that, and they are always free. The next badge here is the Applied Data Science with Python. So this is a data science course that's all done with Python, and really a little bit more of a deep dive than the Foundations course. So now that we've kind of covered everything, as I mentioned before, if you scroll up to the very top of the chat, I have all the links that you need there as well. We also will be posting them in the chat as we go, as reminders. If you need any help, please feel free to post in the chat and post in the Ask a Question as well, and we'll answer your questions as we go along. So the first thing we're going to start with is what is NLP? So I'd like to ask you all a question. There we go. Here we go. So you should be able to see the poll. Hopefully, I've just made it visible for all of you. So my first question is, how familiar are you with NLP and NLU? So go ahead and answer the poll. There we go. I've got some people answering. Take a second to answer that question. Looks like we've got a few people that have dabbled a bit in NLP and NLU. Got a few data scientists. Very good. Okay. So go ahead and put in the chat if you know what NLP stands for. There we go. Okay. So NLP stands for Natural Language Processing. So natural language processing is the technology used to aid computers in understanding natural language. So the natural language of humans. So natural language processing is usually shortened as NLP, and it's a branch of artificial intelligence, and it deals with the interaction between computers and humans using natural language. So the ultimate objective of natural language processing is to read, decipher, and understand and make sense of human languages in a manner that is valuable. Most NLP techniques rely on machine learning to derive meaning from human languages. And this doesn't just mean English, right? This means all languages. So what is NLP used for? So a typical interaction between humans and machines using NLP could go as follows. So a human talks to a machine, think Google Assistant or Siri, or your Alexas that everyone has hiding around their houses listening to everything. So a human talks to the machine then captures the audio. Audio to text conversion takes place. Next is the processing of the text data. Data to audio conversion takes place, and then the machine responds to the human by playing the audio file. So a lot of us are already doing this. So we make a request to Alexa. Alexa captures the audio. Audio to text conversion happens. Alexa then processes the text data for the request that you've made. The response is then converted to audio, and then the Alexa responds by playing the audio file with your response. Okay. Sorry, I have a sticky mouse here. There we go. Okay. There we go. So what are some examples of natural language processing. So language translation applications such as Google Translate or word processors such as Microsoft Word and Grammarly, they employ natural language processing to check grammatical accuracy of text. So your spelling and grammar checks, that's all using natural language processing. Interactive voice response applications used in call centers to respond to certain users' requests. So when you make a call to the bank or you're making a call to some sort of customer service center, there's a lot of voice response interactions that you have where it's asking you from a recorded responses. It's asking you questions and to respond using different either verbal or pushing keys on your phone to send a response to the machine. And then, as I mentioned before, personal assistant applications such as Google Assistant, Siri, and Alexa. So we're going to be talking a little bit about natural language processing and natural language understanding, and then how these apply to what we're going to be doing today, which is natural language classification. So why is natural language processing difficult? So natural language processing is a difficult problem in computer science because of the nature of human language. Languages, not just English, foreign languages as well. They have a lot of these rules that they follow, right? But I think anyone from any place also knows there's many dialects and there's different colloquialisms. So although we have these rules of the human language, we also don't follow those rules, but we're still able to understand each other and communicate. So that's a really big challenge for natural language processing in the realm of computer science. So the rules that dictate the passing of information using natural language are not easy for computers to understand. So some of these rules can be high level and abstract. For example, when someone uses a sarcastic remark to pass information, right? So in addition to language, we're also there's also difficulties with sentiment and lexicons, which is something that we're going to cover in part 3 of our series as well on Wednesday. So on the other hand, some of these rules can be very low level. For example, how the character S in English signifies the plurality of items. So comprehensively understanding human language requires understanding both the words and how the concepts are connected to deliver the intended message. While humans can easily master a language, the ambiguity and imprecise characteristics of the natural languages are what make natural language processing difficult for machines to implement. Okay. So how does natural language processing work? So we've talked a lot about it, but how does it actually work? So NLP entails applying algorithms to identify and extract the natural language rules, some of which we talked about, that the unstructured language data is converted into a form that computers can understand. So it's taking the natural language and applying rules, grammar rules, language rules to unstructured language data that it's consuming. When the text has been provided, the computer will utilize algorithms to extract meaning associated with every sentence and collect the essential data from them. Sometimes computers fail to understand the meaning of a sentence well, and that can lead to really obscure results. So for example, a humorous incident occurred in the 1950s during the translation of some words between English and Russian languages. So the biblical sentence that required translation was, "The spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak." The result of translating from Russian and then back to English was, "The vodka is good and the meat is rotten," right? So There's a lot of work that goes into natural language processing, so that we don't get terrible translations. I think we all remember Google Translate. Maybe about 5 years ago, we'd get a lot of translations like this, but things have drastically improved now. So what are the techniques used in natural language processing? So we know what it does and how it does it, but what are the techniques? So syntactic analysis and semantic analysis are the main techniques used to complete natural language processing tasks. So what we're referring to when we talk about syntax, there we go. Syntax is the arrangement of words in a sentence so that they make sense grammatically. So in natural language processing, syntactic analysis is used to assess how natural language aligns with grammatical rules. Computer algorithms are also used to apply grammatical rules to a group of words and derive meaning from them. So some syntax techniques are things like word segmentation, part of speech tagging, parsing, and sentence breaking. Now let's look at semantics. So semantics is referring to the meaning that's conveyed by a text. So semantic analysis is one of the difficult aspects of natural language processing that we're still trying to work out. So it involves applying computer algorithms to understand the meaning and interpretation of words and how sentences are structured. So in that bad translation we just found, there's a lot going wrong in the semantic analysis of that sentence in the translation. So some techniques for semantic analysis are word sense disambiguation, which involves giving meaning to a word based on the context, right? So weak can mean something different in different contexts, or flesh, or rotten, or volatile, right? These are things that mean different, these are words that have different meanings depending on the context. Another is natural language generation. So this involves using databases to derive semantic intentions and can convert them into human language. Here we go. Okay, so just to kind of wrap up, some examples of natural language processing: communication devices for people with disabilities, such as converting sign language to text, machine translation of tech manuals and catalogs in foreign languages, using something like Google Translate. This I found interesting was aircraft maintenance. So natural language processing actually helps mechanics synthesize information from giant aircraft manuals, and it's able to find meaning in verbal and handwritten reports of problems coming in from pilots and other staff. Cool. So now that we kind of understand what NLP is, I want to kind of break it down to get down to natural language classification, which is what we're going to do today. So who knows what NLU stands for? Go ahead and put it in the chat. So, sorry, I have a backwards mouse. Okay, so NLU stands for natural language understanding. So natural language understanding is a subtopic of natural language processing. So it involves breaking down the human language into a machine-readable format. So interesting applications include text categorization, machine translation, and question answering. So natural language understanding uses those grammar rules and common syntax to understand the overall context and meaning of what we call natural language, beyond the literal definitions. So its goal is to understand written or spoken language the way a human would. So this is done in a number of ways: sentiment analysis, language detection, and topic classification. Okay. So what's the difference between NLP and NLU? So natural language understanding is just a subfield of natural language processing. So while both NLP and NLU aim to make sense of unstructured data that it's consuming, but there's not the same thing. So NLP is concerned with how computers are programmed to process language and facilitate natural back and forth communication between computers and humans. Natural language understanding, on the other hand, focuses on a machine's ability to understand the human language. So NLU refers to how unstructured data is rearranged so that machines may understand and analyze it. So think of it this way. Before a computer can process unstructured data text into a machine-readable format, first the machine needs to understand the specifications and peculiarities, I can't say the word, of the human language. So some examples of natural language understanding: automated reasoning, automated routing of tickets. So this with airline tickets and different hotels.com, think of applications like that, and question answering. Okay, so question answering, for instance, is a subfield of NLP and speech recognition, and it uses natural language understanding to help computers automatically understand natural language questions and provide reasonable responses. Okay, there we go. Backwards mouse. Okay, now let's get to NLC. So we all should probably have an idea now of what NLC stands for. So why don't you go ahead and give it a go. So what we're talking about here is what we're focusing on building today. So what we're focusing on here is natural language classification. Just want to check, do a little check-in here. Make sure had some issues with slides freezing. Okay, we're good. So natural language classification, what we're referring to here specifically is Watson's natural language classifier. So it's an enterprise solution for training, customizing, and deploying natural language classifiers at scale. Independent of industry use case, natural language processing is becoming central to a lot of workflows. You're probably seeing now a lot of things are going digital in an audio form, and really relying on human interaction and response for a lot of applications to function properly now. So whether you're a developer or a data scientist, the need for a simple workflow is really important. So what we're going to see here is in one environment, you'll be able to train, build, test, and deploy your classifiers to your applications. And additionally, you'll be able to import other services like notebooks or Watson machine learning models of other outside of natural language classification, different frameworks, databases. You'll be able to import any other services into your project. So we're going to look at that in just a minute. There we go. So, and then to close, so natural language classification service capabilities. Some examples are classifying natural language text. So training classifiers using IBM Deep Learning as a service. Multilingual support. So English, Arabic, French, German, Italian, a number of other languages. Multi-category classification. So listing results from many classes for given text input. And then multi-phrase classification. So classifying up to 30 separate text inputs in a single API request. So these are all of the capabilities that Watson's natural language classification service provides. And we are going to take a look at those. So what I've also included in the slides is a Medium article on training NLC data. So it includes a lot of really great tips for best practices when it comes to training your natural language classifier. There we go. So if you're looking into training your own classifiers, going further than just this tutorial, I would highly recommend taking a look at this article. It's got some really great tips on best practices for getting your data prepared. So let's build something. We've done a lot of talking. Let's get our hands dirty. So again, if you haven't already, if you go to the bottom of the screen where it says IBM Cloud sign up, you do need an IBM Cloud account. Go here. You do need an IBM Cloud account in order to follow along and do the workshop. Let me just scroll down and make sure we're okay. Okay. So I just posted the Git repo in the chat so that you can easily click on it and get to it. So the first thing that we'll need to do is clone the repo. And then we'll also need to sign up for an IBM Cloud account. So again, the link is at the bottom. The link is at the bottom of the screen, so you don't have to copy the link down or anything. So let's get started. So let me get a new window open. Let me show you this in real time. Here we go. Okay, so window. Oops. Okay. All right, I need to reselect my screen. Just a second. Okay, let's try this. This is what we're gonna do. Just realized that this doesn't exactly work for Firefox, so I'm just gonna go here. There we go. Okay. So all right. Let's try it this way. Okay. This is not the right account. No. All right, this is still holding my old account. Sorry about that. Let me just get into the right account here. Okay, try this again. And if you're having any trouble, don't worry. I have everything documented in the slides. So even if you're, catching up late, or you're going to do this at home, don't worry, because I have everything documented. So you can go back and look at the slides, or, oh my goodness. Okay, just a minute. You can go back and look at the slides, or you can go back and watch the recording. All right, come on, computer. No, you can do it. Podcast is not like Firefox, so I'm forcing it in here now. Okay, perfect. All right. Okay, so when you log into your account, you should see your dashboard here. Let's just let this load. Okay. So the first thing we're going to do here is we're going to make this easy. I'm going to just click on the catalog so we don't have a whole bunch of junk pop up, because we have a lot of people that use this account. So the first thing I'm going to do is go to my catalog, and I'm going to look up Watson Studio. I already have a Watson Studio account, but if you don't, you can go ahead and click on Watson Studio. Default regions are already selected. You're able to create a free light account. So light plans are usually deleted after 30 days of inactivity, but you can always create a new free one. And then you can give it a custom name here if you want. Stuff. And then create a new one. If you already have an account, what you can do is at the top, you can search Watson Studio. And here's my instance here. So I gave mine a nice name that I use for pretty much everything so that I can find it easily. Most of you will probably only have one instance, unless you're working with a corporate account or a team of people. So once you've created your Watson Studio instance, what you're going to do is we're going to click Get Started down here. This is going to open up our IBM Cloud Pack for data. This is kind of a new look. So if you've come to the workshops before, this is kind of a new intermediary, I'll say, to getting into your Watson Studio projects. Perfect. So the next thing you're going to do, there we go, is create a project. So click Create a Project. Open here. You're going to create an empty project. I'm just going to call it NLC Email Phishing Project. You'll also need to select a storage service. Now, so when you create your instance of Watson Studio, you'll also need to create an instance of object storage. So again, it's nice to name it something that you can find. And then I'm just going to create a new project here. So I've selected my storage, given it a name. I'm going to create this here. So when you've created a successful project, you're going to be taken to this dashboard view of your project. Take note of the assets and settings tabs. We're going to be using them to associate our project with any external assets, like data sets and notebooks, and any IBM Cloud services. Perfect. Just want to check and make sure everything's good. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to click at the top, add to our project. So we're going to add an instance of natural language classifier model here. So this, let's click here. Associate a service. So your project needs to be associated with a Watson natural classifier. Sorry, natural language classifier. To provision a new service or instance, associate an existing one, click here. So we're going to come to this view. And you're going to need to create a Watson NLC instance. So let me get rid of this. Okay, we get it. All right. So you're able to create a new service here. Natural language understanding, natural language classifier, right here. And then again, so you're given one natural language classifier free per month. So you can make 1,000 API calls, and you can you have 4 free training events to use per month. And then again, you can give it a name and create it here. So I already have one. So what I'm going to do is go to this search bar here, and I'm just going to look for mine. Guess I'm already using mine. That's okay. I'm going to take you to my project. This one. Oh, this one's in use too. Let's just create a new one. Just going to create a new one. So this is going to create this here. Perfect. All right. So I'm going to go to this one that's not in use. And I'm going to click Associate Service. So here it tells us that we've created our natural language classifier instance, and now we're going to associate the service with our project that we're working in. So let me associate this service. Give it a second. It does take a little second to associate it, so don't worry if it doesn't do anything right away. Okay. Now you can give it some sort of name if you want. Email, NLC, email, phishing. Okay. Now you've all cloned the repo. So what we're going to do now, we've associated the Watson NLC instance with our project. Now we're going to add the email training data. So here we go. Go ahead and click Browse. And let me go to my project. So here's the email phishing. You're going to go to Data, and then you're going to select the email training.csv, not the testing data JSON, just the training data.csv. So open this. Okay, it's unloading our file. As you'll see here, It's loading the file into our model. So we don't need to drag and drop it. It's actually going to load the whole CS file into our model. Boom. So as you can see here, we have training data to train our model to recognize ham, phishing, or spam emails. We'll talk a little bit more about those. But we're feeding it training data specific to the different types of emails that we want it to be able to predict with a good accuracy. So when we give it data, we want it to be able to tell us, is this a phishing email? Is this spam? Is this a ham email? So the next thing we're going to do is train the model. So if you scroll to the top and you click train model, what's really cool is you're able to specify what language you want your model in. So let's say you're in Italy or Japan and you're adding data. You're able to tell it what language you want the model to be in. So I would click train, but I already have a model prepared for you all, so I'm going to go grab that. Now, this is a lot of data, so this is going to take an hour or two to finish training. So just so you know. So let me go back into a project that I already have a model ready for you all. There we go. Okay, so here's my project overview. And remember I said take note of the assets and settings for later. So let's click on our assets. So as you can see here, here's my training data I uploaded earlier. I did train it, so it's already trained. So as you can see here, it's under our natural language classifier models. So if I click on here, I can open that up and we can take a look at it. Let it load. There we go. So this is the model that I've already trained. So one thing to note, we have a model ID here. Our status is available. So while your model is training, this will say training. And it'll say the classifier instance is not available. We have 3 classes, and the number of text examples we've given it is 17,831. So it also shows your classes and the number of examples in each class that you've used to train your data. Another nice point is that you can enter in, if you want to test your classification model, you can enter in an email here. So if you want to take an email that you've received, like in your own inbox, and put it in here, you can put it in here and click classify, and it will tell you if it's a phishing or a spam email. So this is telling me with 89% predictability that it is a phishing email. And this is just some stuff I typed in. But you can enter in an entire email if you want to test it, and it'll give you results instantly, whether it's ham, phishing, or spam. Implementation. So the next thing we're going to be doing is actually integrating our model into our application and deploying it locally. So a few things I want to show you. Here are some code snippets to help you get started. We have Java, Node, Python, Ruby, and then just a simple curl command. There's a few things that we're going to need. The first thing we're going to need is our model ID. And you have a little copy button here to help you copy that. The next thing that we're going to need is our, let's see. We're going to need our service credentials. So we're going to need our NLC ID and our API key. So first I'm going to show you where to get those. So we've taken note of our model ID here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go back here. So when you clicked Get Started, it opened up this IBM Cloud Pack for Data, but it left this tab open. So what we want to do is not from our Cloud Pack for Data, but from our IBM Cloud portal view. What we want to do is we want to click on our little guy in the corner here, so in the top right corner, and we're going to click Log into CLI and API. Let me see this for a second. Oh, just kidding. You know what? We're going to deploy this locally first. So first, what we're going to do, I'm going to leave this open. First, what we're going to do is deploy our application locally. So the repository that you cloned has an application that you can run with npm start. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through and do that first. So from this view, I want you to go to your resource list. We're going to go to our, let's see, services. Let's scroll up a little. We have our natural, spell, language classifier. Cool. So as you can see here, we have our natural language classifier service that I've created here. So you're going to find your natural language classifier service from your resource list, and you're going to click on it. Wait for this to load. And these are here's the rest of your credentials. So you have your API key and your URL. So this is all we need to deploy locally. So let me get my terminal here. Perfect. So here's our project here. So the first thing we want to do is move into our server folder. Okay. So the first thing we want to do is add our NLC classifier and our API key to our project. So let me move this over for you all. Okay, so when you open up the project, there's an env.example file. So what you're going to want to do is create an env file and just add your information here as strings. So your classifier ID, your natural language classifier API key, and your natural language classifier URL. I've already added those to my env file. So the 3 easy steps to deploy this locally is update the env with the, what is this? With the NLC ID and API key, as well as your model ID. So again, we found those here. So we have our model ID here. And we came out here and went to our resource list services. We went to our natural language classifier instance and got our API key and our URL here. So those are the 3 pieces of 3 credentials that we need. The next we're going to do is, let me pull up my terminal again. We're going to simply npm install. And then we're going to be going to npm start. And as you can see here, we have our classifier ID, and it says server running on port 3000. So let me go here. Let's say local host 3000. Perfect. And our phishing email spam classifier is live and running locally. So what we can do here is we can choose from different email options. I'm going to choose this this cousin of this astronaut. Let's check out this one. So when you click on it, it automatically submits it to classify, and it was given a 98% probability that it's a phishing email. So let's try another one. Let's try iTunes. 91% that it's a phishing email. So now that we have it running locally, we have our application running locally. So just a second. Backwards mouse. Okay, so we've deployed it locally. So one thing I just want to look at quickly. So we're classifying into ham, spam, or phishing. So ham is just general email, not considered spam or junk mail. Spam is unsolicited and unwanted junk emails. And phishing emails are targeted attacks to steal login credentials and other sensitive data. So now what we're going to do is deploy to IBM Cloud. So what we're going to do is, from this view, we can get to a lot of places from this first view, our Watson Studio instance view. So now to deploy to IBM Cloud, what we're going to do is we're going to open this login to CLI and API. So I just clicked this little guy in the corner, this profile guy, and then I clicked on this login to CLI and API. So I'm going to click here, and it's going to give me an IBM Cloud CLI passcode. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this link. Just a second. Okay. So I'm going to leave that for a minute. What I'm going to do first is I'm going to, well, let's bring this down. All right, we'll bring that down for just a second. What I want to do to deploy this is update the manifest.yaml file. So what we're going to do is we're going to update the name. So right now it's just NLC email phishing add name. So I'm going to change this to Jenna Ritten. And then as you can see here, we have a placeholder for the classifier ID, the API key, and the URL, which are the same three credentials that we pulled for our local deployment. So all we need to do is update the manifest.yaml. We are going to run IBM. Let me move this up a little maybe so you can see it. You're going to run IBM Cloud login. Log into your IBM Cloud account. Well, I didn't enter my password, but just to show you. You're going to log into your IBM Cloud account from the command line. And then you're going to run IBM Cloud CF push. CF push. So there's a problem with my account, so don't worry. You're going to do IBM Cloud login, and then you're going to do IBM Cloud CF push. And what that's going to do is that's going to create an org and a space to deploy your application to IBM Cloud. I can show you here what that will look like. I don't know why this is so big. Okay. So when you've successfully ran your IBM Cloud login, you've put your NLC API key, NLC classifier and API key, and your classifier ID from your model into your manifest.yaml. And then you've run IBM Cloud login and IBM Cloud CF push. That's all you need. And then you'll be able to see, something got zoomed in. You'll be able to see here, the project here under your Cloud Foundry applications. So if you go to your resource list and you go to your Cloud Foundry applications, you'll be able to see your application there. And then when you click on, let's see, a little big. I zoomed in a bit. There we go. So what you'll be able to see, oh no. Sorry about that. Let's scroll down. Oh man, this is being fussy. All right, let me get back to this view here. I want to show you the view from your deployed application. Okay. So we've run these 3 commands, or you've updated the manifest YAML and run these 2 commands. You can now see your application in your Cloud Foundry applications. And then at the bottom here, when you click on that Cloud Foundry application in your resource list, if you look at the bottom, you'll be able to see your classifier ID, your natural language classifier API key, and your natural language classifier URL, all in your project. So now our app is live. So let's check it out. Let's go here. All right, let's check out our deployed application. So we've looked at our local application. Let's take a look at our deployed application. Perfect. So I'm going to pick this one. It's going to classify 54% ham. So it's saying this is probably a legitimate email that you should look at. And if you want to try as we looked at in here, if you want to try testing other data that's not from within the project, or maybe you want to create your own project, you can enter any email data here and select classify, and it will give you a probability of accuracy, whether it's a ham, phishing, or spam email. With that. You know, I've gotten complaints that things are too small, so I try to go big or go home. So now we have our deployed application. We also have our project deployed locally. So congrats, you have learned what natural language processing is. You now understand what natural language understanding is, and you understand what a natural language classification is, how to create a natural language classifier, and how to implement it into your projects that you can then deploy to IBM Cloud or run locally. So I want to take some time. If any of you have any questions, I'd like also, if you would be so gracious as to fill out a very quick feedback survey. It is only 2 questions. So it's not like a long, put your name in and do all this stuff. It's just 2 quick questions just to get feedback from you. I want to take a look at the chat and our questions here so I can answer. Oops, let me go back. So I can answer any questions for you. Let's go back here to the survey link. Perfect. Okay. Is there a light instance of NLC? So there's not a light instance, but your first instance is free. And you're allowed up to, I think it was 1,000 API calls and 4 training events. So it's not necessarily a light instance, but you can get some use out of it for free. How can you integrate your NLC application to your email in order to make an automated assessment of your emails using APIs?
Probably want to use something like a browser extension. You can make your own browser extension. That's just JavaScript code, which is the same underlying code that we used here. I think there was one that someone made. Let me see if I can find that.
Let's see. Yes, and if anyone has any questions, now's a good time to throw them in the chat or throw them into the Q&A section. We can take some time to review and answer questions. So it looks like you can, Steve posted, you can make a browser extension with JavaScript and use the Watson SDK within the extension. And he posted a link to developer.ibm.com tutorial there to take a look at. So it looks like we have a question. How is NLU processed? Suppose I have 2 emails that say something similar in a different way.
Yeah, I imagine that's just going to be, how do you classify them? Well, when you're classifying them, they'll be part of the training set. And then when the emails are read or the body is read, then depending on what the model says and if it's trained properly, then it'll give you the hammer, spam, or phishing answer. It's all based off the training data that you give it. So it's kind of like a black box. You give it some text, and it'll give you back yes or no, and how confident it is of that answer. Yeah, and Jenna, you want to mention tomorrow's session and the one after that?
Yes, so we have part 2 and part 3. So tomorrow is going to be building and deploying applications with Auto AI. Actually, let me pull up a link for you all for that.
That one for sure is free tier compatible.
Yes, that one for sure is a free tier. And on Wednesday, we're actually going to be running a Jupyter Notebook workshop with the IBM Debater team. So we're going to be learning about, or the team that's worked on the code patterns and tutorials for the IBM Debater composition lexicons, sentiment lexicons. So we're going to be taking a look at building Jupyter notebooks using the IBM Debater sentiment lexicons training data. So let's see this here. So, sorry, I'm losing track of Windows. So, Auto AI. So if you would like to come for tomorrow, I just posted a link. If you would like to register, if you would like to come and hear and learn some more about IBM Debater and learn some more about natural language understanding and sentiment lexicons, we're going to be discussing that and working through the Jupyter Notebook on Wednesday. So here's the link for that as well, if you would like to attend. We'll give a few minutes. If anyone has any other questions, please feel free to post in the chat. We have some time to stick around and answer some questions. We normally save some time at the end, at the very end of all of our in-person events for networking, for people to network with each other, for people to network with us. So it's a little difficult to do that through this medium. But if you would like to connect or see some more content, please feel free to do that. Please feel free to reach out with any questions you have. As you're working through the tutorial at home, if you get stuck anywhere, please feel free to ask any questions. Let's see. Yes, and if you would like to attend part 2 and part 3, again, tomorrow is Auto AI, and Wednesday is going to be IBM Debater sentiment lexicons. Sentiment lexicons. It's like a tongue twister. And I would like to put up here, there we go, before we reach the end here. So I have all of the event resources listed here for you. So we have the IBM Cloud sign up, the slides, the live stream, the GitHub repo. I also have the IBM Data Science certifications that I would highly recommend. I've done a lot of the acclaimed certifications and earned a lot of the badges, and I really enjoyed them. They're not too difficult, but they're definitely, especially with the more advanced ones, you can get your hands dirty and really build some cool projects. And if you'd like to check us out on Twitter or Twitch or YouTube, please feel free to do that. I have some links here that you can follow us at. So it looks like, FYI, the speech-to-text does not work on Firefox for upload. Needed to move to Chrome. Huh. Speech-to-text.
Okay, that's probably the sample one that I shared earlier.
Oh, okay, okay.
I'll file a bug with the team.
Okay.
Yeah.
And for reference, I have not had issues. An aside, I've not had issue. I've used both Chrome and Firefox for different projects with the cloud.ibm.com, and you shouldn't have any issues. So whatever your browser of choice is, you shouldn't have any issues with that. Oops. All right. Well, if there aren't any other questions, I just want to thank you all so much for coming out. I hope to see you all tomorrow and Wednesday. And I hope you all have a great rest of your week. If you're not able to make it, I will be sending out an email with the playbacks so you can watch them at a later time if you're not able to make it. And again, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn. And I'll be happy to answer any questions that you might have. So thank you all so much, and I hope you all have a really great rest of your week, and hopefully we'll be spending some more time with you tomorrow and Wednesday.
All right.
So,
thanks for running the session, Jenna.
Yeah, thank you, Steve. And I'll see you tomorrow.
All right. Thanks. See you, everyone.
Bye.